Okay, so let's see how to connect a LCD display with the Arduino. So in Arduino we have this I think LCD602 display or something like that. Uh, yeah, LCD 16 by 2 display. So basically this has 16 columns and 2 rows. So we can use this display to display whatever we want. Maybe could be a word or maybe a number, something like that. So let's take our Arduino, right? So there are several pinouts. So basically this cathode and anode needs to be connected for the corresponding ground and uh, the fixed voltage as before. Uh, right. Then VCC also needs to be connected to the 5 voltage. This ground also needs to be grounded. So it actually grounded in two different ways and also connected to the 5 voltage in two different ways. But when it comes to anode, we need to use some sort of a resistor as well, right? Then we need to use maybe 5 or let's say 4 data pins associated with this display, right? uh, then this enable pin basically specify whether the LCD is turned on or turned off. Then this read write basically specify the corresponding register, which means we are, if we write something to the display it's write, or if we read something to the display it's read. Then there is a register select one, that's the same thing. We need to specify which register we are uh, selecting, whether it's read register or write register. Then here we have the contrast. So this basically control the brightness of the corresponding uh, display circuit, right? So maybe we can use some sort of a potentiometer alongside with this contrast pin, right? So that's it. So let's try to connect this. So you can use a breadboard as well, right? So initially I will connect this plus sign with high voltage and ground with ground, like this. Then yeah, then I need the resistor, right? So let's say this resistor is 220 ohm. So rotate it and maybe we can connect it to the anode, maybe like this, right? This one is connected to this one. Then we need to connect cathode to the ground. Okay. Then VCC and ground also needs to be given. So this is ground. Ground is connected to the ground. Then VCC is connected to the this one. right. Then we can use potentiometer to control the contrast. So use this potentiometer. So we need to use this wipe as the contrast uh, input. Then this needs to be grounded. This needs to be connected to the VCC. So we can control the brightness over here. Then we can connect our data pins accordingly. So there is a pattern as well, so I will follow that pattern. So connect this one to 2, then this one to 3, then next one to 4, next one to this, right? So I will use maybe 4 different colors, so it will be easier to distinguish. Right. Then I need to use connect this RS, RW and EN pins as well. So RS basically I will connect it to the pin 12 register select one. So maybe there are a lot of wirings going on. Maybe I will use like this. Then make it as green. Then I need to connect this read write to the ground like this. Then enable. I can enable this one maybe using pin 11 like this. Use maybe. Okay, so I think wiring is done. Let's move to the code. So when it comes to LCD displays, there is a library we can use. So that library is basically liquid crystal. So click this library buttons, then include this liquid crystal. So it will add this header file, or you can even type manually this header file. Then we need to specify what are the RS, EN pins and our data pins. So RS pin is, in my case, it's 12. Then enable pin is 11. Then I need to specify the corresponding data pins as well. So D4 is basically, yeah, D4 is 5. Um, D4 is 5. Then D5 is 4. So D5 is 4. So now you can see the pattern. So D6 is 3. Then D7 is 2. Right. Then we can initialize the liquid crystal library using LCD or some other object. So I will call that object. So LCD, all you have to do is pass these RS, EN and D4, D5, D6 and D7. Right. Then we can initialize this LED object by saying LCD.begin. Then maybe we can print some sort of a word to it. So let's say LCD print something like this. Right. So now the word is here and the object is initialized, and I have to specify a cursor as well if I'm going to print more values, right? But initially I will only have this text, so I will just print it, right? So I will put a delay over here. So whenever I click start simulation, okay, so in this begin function I need to specify what sort of columns and rows I'm going to initialize. So I'm going to initialize all the columns and all the rows. So there are 2 rows and 16 columns, and all will be initialized. So whenever I click simulating, now the corresponding test is displayed, right? Then let's say if I'm going to print some sort of a time or some sort of a counting over here, I can specify the cursor to that corresponding position using LCD dot setup cursor. So 0 1. So the 0 denotes to the corresponding column, so which is 0th column. Then 1 denotes to the corresponding row, which is first row. The indexing goes like that: 0 1, then 0 1 2 up to 15, right? So LCD dot print, I will take the milliseconds, then divided it by 1000 maybe. Let's start simulate. Yeah, setup. Did you mean? Yeah, it needs to be set cursor. Right, so I think we need to reload workbench. Yeah, so I'll specify this as set cursor, right? Not the setup cursor, set cursor. So whenever I start simulating now it initially has this number, right? Then it constantly start counting, but I think I haven't specified the delay over here, that's why it goes like this. But if you see the time, so for each second it will print the corresponding time over here, right? So that's how you set a cursor and print a text initially using LCD display, right? So I think you can control the contrast as well, right? So you can contrast also control like this. Okay, so that's how we connect a display alongside with this Arduino board. Thank you.